2 days later, the hospital became a storm of whispers. Nurses, doctors, and even the security guards were talking about the engineer and his wife. Detective Bayo visited Amanda again, this time in the hospital cafe. He placed a small brown envelope on the table between them. "We did a lab test on the wine," he said. "It was a high-dose sleeping toxin, not lethal in small amounts, but dangerous when mixed with alcohol. Your husband was lucky." Amanda sighed, her face pale. "What happens now?" Bayo leaned back. "That depends on you both. Daniel hasn't pressed charges. He says it was a misunderstanding." Amanda looked down. "He's lying to protect me." Bayo studied her for a moment. "I've seen hundreds of cases like this, Mrs. Okoro," he said quietly. "Most end in tragedy. But something about this one feels unfinished. Are you sure there's nothing else you're not telling me?" Amanda looked away. For a moment, she almost told him everything about Tina, about the affair, the messages, the nights of fear. But she stayed silent. "No," she whispered. "There's nothing else." Bayo nodded slowly, though he didn't believe her. He left the cafe, his phone ringing as he stepped into the corridor. "Detective," the voice on the line said, "we found the man named Segan. He's in custody." Bayo's eyes narrowed. "And?" "He says the poison wasn't for Daniel. It was ordered by a woman." Bayo froze. "A woman? Which woman?" The line crackled for a moment before the voice replied. "He says her name is Tina." That evening, as Amanda sat by Daniel's bedside reading a magazine, the door opened slowly. Detective Bayo walked in, holding a file. He greeted them briefly and looked at Daniel. "We've been able to trace the origin of the poison," he said. "It came from a pharmaceutical technician named Segan Alade. He confessed someone paid him to prepare it." Daniel frowned. "Paid him?" "I paid him." "I." Bayo raised a hand. "No, Mr. Okoro. You were not his client." Daniel and Amanda exchanged confused glances. Bayo continued, "Segan said a woman named Tina gave him your name and number. She told him you needed a substance for a private matter. He assumed she was your wife." Amanda gasped softly. Daniel's face went pale. "Tina," he whispered. Bayo nodded. "She vanished 2 days after your incident. We tracked her apartment and it was empty. But we found this." He placed a printed document on the table, a copy of a life insurance policy. Amanda read it aloud, her voice trembling. "Beneficiary, Tina Daramola. Insured, Daniel Okoro. Amount, 25 million Nigerian nairas." Her eyes widened in shock. "What is this, Daniel?" Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "I don't know. I never signed anything like that." Bayo nodded. "That's because she forged your signature." Amanda covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes again. "So she planned to kill you, and collect the insurance money." Daniel's face crumpled. "She used me, all this time." Bayo nodded. "She was never your lover, Mr. Okoro. She was your trap." Amanda turned to Daniel, her voice breaking. "And I almost became your killer because of her." The silence that followed was heavy. Bayo closed the file. "We're still looking for her. If she's smart, she'll try to leave the country. But she'll make a mistake soon." As he turned to leave, he stopped and looked back at Amanda. "Mrs. Okoro," he said quietly, "sometimes life gives you a second chance through the same pain that almost destroyed you. Don't waste it." Then he walked out, leaving them in silence. Amanda reached for Daniel's hand. For the first time in months, he didn't pull away. They just sat there, both crying quietly, not because of love, but because of everything love had cost them. Outside, the rain began again, soft, gentle, cleansing. And somewhere in the night, a woman in a red coat boarded a bus heading out of Abuja, her lips curling into a cold smile. Her name was Tina Daramola. And she wasn't done yet. 3 days after the revelation, Daniel was discharged from the hospital. He returned home to the quiet streets of Maitama, Abuja, the same house that once felt alive with laughter but now stood heavy with silence. Amanda walked beside him, her steps slow and uncertain. Every corner of the house whispered memories, some good, some painful. The wineglasses still sat in the sink, untouched since that fateful night. As Daniel dropped his bag in the living room, his eyes fell on the couch where it all began, the anniversary dinner, the toast, the poison. He swallowed hard. Amanda noticed. "Do you want me to clear everything?" He shook his head. "No, leave it. It's a reminder." That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, too full of ghosts. He turned on the bedside lamp and noticed something strange, a folded piece of paper sticking out from under Amanda's pillow. Curiosity got the better of him. He pulled it out and unfolded it slowly. It was a handwritten note from Amanda. "If anything happens to me, please tell my mother I forgive Daniel. Tell him I knew everything. Tell him I still loved him." Daniel froze. Tears welled in his eyes as guilt crashed over him like a wave. He clutched the paper against his chest, whispering, "I don't deserve you, Amanda." But just then, his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, a message from an unknown number. "You were lucky, Daniel. But luck runs out. T." His hands began to shake. He sat up, scanning the room as though she might appear from the shadows. Amanda stirred beside him. "What's wrong?" He swallowed hard. "It's her. Tina." Amanda's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He handed her the phone. Her eyes widened as she read the message. "Daniel," she whispered, "she knows you're home." Detective Bayo arrived early the next morning. He stood by the window, arms crossed, staring out at the street. Daniel and Amanda sat opposite him, still shaken. "You're sure the message came from her?" Bayo asked. "Yes," Daniel said. "She signed a T. She used to do that when we were together." Bayo exhaled slowly. "She's taunting you." Amanda's voice trembled. "Can't you trace her?" "We tried," Bayo replied. "She's good at covering her tracks. We believe she has helped someone in the insurance company, maybe even in law enforcement." Daniel rubbed his face in frustration. "So what now? We just wait for her to strike again?" Bayo turned from the window. "No. We make her believe she already has." Amanda frowned. "What do you mean?" Bayo gave a thin smile. "She's obsessed with control. People like her always return to finish the game. So we set the stage. We leak that you, Daniel, didn't survive the poisoning. We'll even publish a small obituary. She'll come to confirm it herself." Amanda's eyes widened. "That's dangerous." "I know," Bayo said. "But it's the only way to catch her." Daniel hesitated, then nodded. "Let's do it." 2 days later, the trap was set. News quietly spread through Abuja, engineer Daniel Okoro had passed away in. By Friday morning, the city buzzed with whispers. Across social media, small news blogs, and WhatsApp groups, one headline spread like wildfire. Engineer Daniel Okoro dies after short illness. A simple photo of Daniel in a suit accompanied the article. It looked real enough to fool anyone, and that was the point. Amanda sat alone in the living room, staring at her phone. The comments under the post made her chest ache. "Rest in peace, brother. Such a good man, gone too soon. May God comfort your wife." Each line felt like a knife twisting deeper. Detective Bayo had advised her not to react, not to comment, not to even open messages, but the pain was unbearable. That afternoon, Bayo visited again, dressed casually this time. He looked around the house and said, "Everything looks ready. The cameras are hidden, kitchen, corridor, and back entrance. The funeral will be announced in 2 days. She'll come." Amanda nodded silently. Her eyes were red from crying. Bayo's voice softened. "You're doing well, Mrs. Okoro. It takes strength to stand this close to danger and still stay calm." Amanda gave a weak smile. "Calm is all I have left." As night fell, she went upstairs and sat beside the empty bed, Daniel's bed. Her hand brushed the pillow, and tears slipped down her cheeks. Somewhere in the city, a woman in a red coat scrolled through her phone. She saw the obituary. Her lips curved into a dark smile. "So, he's gone after all," she whispered. "Perfect." The funeral was held 2 days later at a small private chapel in Warempa. Detective Bayo had arranged everything, from the priest to the mourners. Only Amanda and a few plainclothes officers knew it was all staged. Amanda wore black, her eyes hidden behind dark glasses. She clutched a white rose, Daniel's favorite flower. Bayo stood near the back, scanning every face that entered. He had officers posted outside, disguised as photographers and ushers. As the service began, Amanda's heart pounded. She could almost feel Tina's eyes watching her. The priest's voice echoed gently through the hall. "We are gathered here today to celebrate the life of engineer Daniel Okoro, a loving husband, a man of great." A sound. A soft creak. Amanda's eyes flickered toward the last pew where a woman had just slipped in quietly. Tall. Slim. Dressed in black. A black hat veiled her face. Amanda's breath caught. It was her. Tina. She sat still, her head bowed as if in mourning, but Amanda could feel her cold gaze beneath the veil. Bayo noticed her too. He tapped his earpiece. "Target confirmed. Row 7, last seat," he whispered. An officer at the entrance nodded slightly. As the service ended, mourners began to file out slowly. Amanda approached the casket, empty, of course, and laid the white rose on top. Her hands trembled. Then, from behind her, a soft voice whispered. "He always loved white roses, didn't he?" Amanda froze. Her body stiffened. Slowly, she turned. Tina stood behind her, smiling faintly under the veil. "Poor Daniel. He didn't deserve such a quiet funeral," she said, her voice low and taunting. Amanda's heart raced. She tried to stay calm, remembering Bayo's words, "Stall her." "You shouldn't be here," Amanda said softly. Tina chuckled. "Oh, I think I should. After all, he died because of me, didn't he?" Amanda's eyes filled with anger. "You used him. You lied to him. And now you're proud?" Tina leaned closer. "Don't act innocent, Amanda. You wanted him dead too. You just didn't have the courage to admit it." Before Amanda could respond, a strong hand grabbed Tina's shoulder. "Detective Bayo." "Tina Daramola," he said firmly, "you're under arrest for attempted murder and fraud." The officers surrounded her instantly. But Tina didn't panic. She smiled, a slow, eerie smile. "You think you've won, detective?" she said quietly. Then she turned her eyes toward Amanda. "Ask your husband about the second bottle." Amanda frowned. "What second bottle?" But Tina only smirked as the officers dragged her away. Later that night, Amanda sat with Bayo in the quiet living room, replaying Tina's words in her mind. The second bottle, what could she mean? Bayo shrugged. Could be a bluff. Or maybe another plan she made in case the first one failed. Amanda sighed. "I don't know what to believe anymore." Just then, Bayo's phone buzzed. He stepped aside to answer it, then returned with a serious expression. "That was our evidence team. They found something at Tina's apartment." Amanda's pulse quickened. "What is it?" Bayo held up a plastic evidence bag. Inside it was a bottle of Meridian red wine, identical to the one from their anniversary dinner. But this one had a label written in neat, feminine handwriting. "To Daniel, for the night we finally celebrate your freedom." Amanda's heart sank. She was planning to kill him again. Bayo nodded slowly. Or, someone else was. Amanda frowned. What do you mean? Bayo's tone deepened. According to Segan, Tina was never working alone. She mentioned a man who helped her forge documents, make calls, and even plan the first poisoning. Amanda's eyes widened. A man? Who? Bayo looked at her gravely. We're still checking the name. But I'll tell you something strange, the number she used to text him was saved under just one letter, D. Amanda froze. Her lips parted slowly. D, she whispered. Bayo nodded. Could that be your husband, Daniel? Amanda shook her head, tears welling again. No, it can't be. He's been through so much. But before she could finish, her phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. You shouldn't have arrested her, Amanda. Now I'll finish what she started. Her fingers trembled as she read it aloud. Detective Bayo snatched the phone, his jaw tightening. This number, it's coming from inside Abuja. Amanda's voice cracked. Who sent it? Bayo looked at the screen again. And there, at the end of the message, was a single initial. D. Amanda's breath caught. Her face turned pale. Daniel, she whispered. Bayo looked at her sharply. Where is he now? Amanda's voice trembled. He told me he was visiting his cousin in Garki. Bayo stood abruptly. We need to move. Now. The sound of sirens filled the air as they rushed into the night. The sirens wailed through the cool Abuja night. Detective Bayo gripped the steering wheel tightly, his eyes fixed on the road. Beside him, Amanda sat trembling, her phone clutched in both hands. Stay calm, Bayo said. We don't know anything yet. Amanda nodded, though her mind screamed otherwise. D. Could it really be Daniel? When they reached the address in Garki 2, the street was almost empty. The house was an old duplex at the end of the lane, lights flickering inside. 2 patrol cars pulled up silently behind them. Bayo gave quick orders. 2 officers at the back. No noise. We go in quiet. Amanda followed as they moved toward the door. Her heart hammered so loudly she feared it would give them away. Inside, the house smelled of dust and cigarette smoke. They crept down the corridor until they heard a faint voice coming from the living room. You promised me, Tina. You said we'd both leave Abuja together. Amanda froze. That voice. Daniel. Bayo signaled for silence. They peered around the corner and there he was, standing by the window, speaking on the phone. His face was tired, wild, and desperate. No, I didn't betray you, he said softly. They found you too soon. But don't worry. I still have the second bottle. Tonight, she'll drink it. I'll finish the job myself. Amanda gasped aloud before she could stop herself. Daniel spun around. His eyes widened as he saw her and the officers behind her. Amanda, he stammered. You shouldn't be here. Bayo stepped forward, gun drawn. Drop the phone, Daniel. Daniel laughed bitterly. You don't understand, detective. She ruined me first. Amanda's voice shook. Daniel, what are you talking about? Tina used you. He pointed at her, eyes blazing. No, you used me, Amanda. You made me feel small every day. You took my pride, my career, my life. She only showed me what freedom felt like. Amanda's tears spilled. Freedom? She wanted your money. She was killing you, Daniel. Daniel's voice broke. And what difference does it make? Either way, I'm already dead. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small glass vial, the poison. Bayo shouted, put it down. Daniel hesitated, then slowly raised the vial to his lips. Daniel, no! Amanda screamed. Before he could drink, Bayo lunged forward, grabbing his wrist. The vial shattered against the floor. A bitter smell filled the room. Daniel struggled, then collapsed to his knees, sobbing. "It was supposed to end tonight," he whispered. "Just tonight." Amanda sank to the floor beside him, crying uncontrollably. Bayo signaled to his men. "Take him in." As the officers handcuffed Daniel, he looked back at Amanda one last time. "Tell them I never meant to hurt you," he said quietly. "Only myself." At the station, Daniel sat behind a glass window, wrists chained, head bowed. Detective Bayo recorded the session while Amanda watched from the other side. "Start from the beginning," Bayo said. Daniel took a shaky breath. "It started 6 months ago. Tina approached me at a business conference. She knew everything about me, my debts, my marriage problems. She offered to help me start over. At first, I thought she cared." He paused, staring blankly at the table. "Then she told me about the insurance plan. Said it was for us, for a new life abroad. I didn't know she forged my signature. I swear. When I found out, she said it was too late to cancel, that the only way to escape was to fake my death." Amanda covered her mouth in disbelief. "So," Bayo asked, "she convinced you to stage your own poisoning?" Daniel nodded. "Yes. But the guilt, it consumed me. I couldn't go through with it. I wanted to drink it myself and end everything. I didn't know Amanda had switched the cups." He looked up at the glass, his eyes red and hollow. "When I woke up at the hospital, I thought maybe it was a sign, a second chance. But then Bayo's fake obituary came out. I thought Tina had betrayed me, left me behind. I panicked. I called her. She told me if I didn't finish what we started, she'd expose everything." Bayo leaned forward. "So you plan to kill Amanda again?" Daniel's voice cracked. "Yes, but I couldn't. When I saw her walk through that door tonight, I realized the only person who needed to die was me." Silence filled the room. Amanda's tears streamed down her face. She whispered, "Why didn't you just tell me the truth?" Daniel looked at her through the glass. "I didn't think you'd forgive me." Weeks passed. Daniel was transferred to the Abuja correctional facility to await trial. Tina remained in custody, furious, silent, uncooperative. Amanda returned to the quiet house in Maitama. Every night, she sat on the balcony, staring at the city lights, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. One evening, a guard from the prison came to the door with a small brown envelope. "From Mr. Daniel Okoro," he said. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Amanda. If you're reading this, I'm already gone, not dead, just done. I asked Bayo to let me plead guilty. I want you to be free. The truth is, I loved you too late. I let my pride poison everything good in us. The drink was never the real poison, it was my ego. Please don't hate me. Remember the day we danced in the rain outside our first apartment in Jabi? That was the happiest I ever felt. Live again. Laugh again. And never raise another glass for me. Daniel." Amanda pressed the letter to her chest and cried until her voice broke. Outside, the evening sun dipped below the Abuja skyline, soft gold fading into purple. She walked to the kitchen, poured 2 glasses of water, and placed them on the table. One for her. One for Daniel. She raised hers gently and whispered. To second chances, and to the last toast. A tear slid down her cheek as she drank. And for the first time in a long while, the house felt still, not empty, but at peace. 3 months later, the courtroom in Wura was packed. Reporters whispered among themselves, cameras flashed discreetly, and murmurs filled the air. The case of the state versus Daniel Okoro and Tina Daramola had drawn attention across Abuja. Amanda hadn't planned to come, she'd promised herself she wouldn't, but that morning, something inside her told her she needed to hear the truth for herself. She sat quietly in the second row, her black scarf pulled low over her head. Daniel sat in the defendant's box, wearing a plain white shirt. His face was thinner, older. Tina sat beside him, elegant as ever, though her eyes carried a cold defiance. When the judge entered, everyone rose. The trial began. Detective Bayo took the stand first, summarizing the events, the poison, the insurance fraud, the staged obituary. He laid out the evidence clearly, firmly, and without bias. Then Tina was called up. She smiled as she walked to the stand, her voice sweet and calm. "Your Honor," she began, "I was framed. I never wanted Daniel dead. He begged me to help him fake his death to escape debt. He planned everything." Gasps echoed around the room. Daniel's lawyer objected, but Tina went on. "He told me his wife was cruel, controlling, that she trapped him in a loveless marriage. I pitied him. I only helped him because I thought he wanted a fresh start." Amanda's heart pounded painfully. Was any of that true? Then Daniel stood. "Your Honor," he said quietly, "she's lying." Tina's eyes widened. Daniel continued, voice breaking. "She wasn't my savior. She was my destruction. She forged documents in my name, threatened my family, and convinced me to poison my wife. But I was too much of a coward to stop her." He turned to face Amanda, his eyes full of remorse. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Tina snapped. She slammed her hand against the table. "You fool! You think you can turn this on me? We were partners." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The judge banged the gavel for order. Detective Bayo stepped forward with the final piece of evidence, an audio recording retrieved from Tina's phone, where she bragged about ending Daniel and taking everything he owns. Her face went pale. In that moment, the mask she'd worn so perfectly for months fell away. The judge spoke firmly. "Tina Daramola, you are hereby found guilty of attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. You are sentenced to 25 years imprisonment." She screamed as officers led her away, glaring at Daniel and Amanda. "You'll both die in guilt," she hissed. Then the room fell silent again. The judge turned to Daniel. "For your cooperation and confession, this court sentences you to 5 years imprisonment, with the possibility of parole in 2. Amanda closed her eyes, tears streaming. 5 years. It wasn't freedom, but it was mercy. 2 years later. Abuja. A calm Sunday evening. The sun dipped low over the city, painting the sky gold and pink. Amanda sat in her small new apartment in Jabi, arranging her books on a shelf. Her life had changed, quieter, simpler, peaceful. She now worked as a counselor at a community center, helping women rebuild their lives after betrayal, loss, or abuse. She'd found purpose again, something that healed her every day. That evening, her doorbell rang. She opened the door slowly, and froze. Daniel stood there. Older, thinner, but free. Neither spoke for a long moment. Finally, Amanda whispered, "You're out." He nodded. "Paroled last week." An awkward silence followed, not hateful, just heavy with all the words left unsaid. "Can I come in?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." They sat at the dining table, the same kind of small round table where everything had once gone wrong. Amanda poured 2 glasses of juice and set them down. Daniel gave a faint smile. "Still pouring for 2. She smiled too, softly. "Some habits don't die." They both lifted their glasses. For a long moment, they just looked at each other, not as lovers, not as enemies, but as 2 souls forever changed by the same story. Daniel raised his glass slightly. "To second chances," he said quietly. Amanda's voice was calm. "To lessons we'll never forget." They clinked their glasses gently. The sound was small, but it carried the weight of forgiveness, pain, and peace. As Daniel stood to leave, he paused at the door. "Thank you, Amanda, for letting me live long enough to understand what love really is." She nodded, eyes glistening. "Take care of yourself, Daniel." When the door closed behind him, Amanda turned toward the window. The city lights glowed softly below. She raised her glass one last time, alone this time, and whispered. This time, no poison. Just peace. She drank slowly, and for the first time since that terrible night, she smiled. Because in the end, the last toast was not about death, betrayal, or revenge. It was about survival, forgiveness, and the courage to begin again. In the end, life always finds its balance. The same hands that once held poison, can one day hold peace. Amanda didn't just survive that night, she was reborn from it. She learned that sometimes, love is not about staying, but about having the strength to walk away when the heart is bleeding. Daniel's mistake cost him everything, his freedom, his pride, his home. But inside that cell, he found something no man should ever lose. Remorse, and the will to change. And as for Tina, her beauty and charm couldn't save her from the truth. Because no matter how long the night is, the morning always comes. And with it, judgment. Music swells softly, deep strings and piano blend as the camera cuts to a sunrise over the city skyline. Narrator, deep, emotional voice. This story reminds us that betrayal is poison. But forgiveness is the antidote that heals the soul. Sometimes, life will pour two cups in front of you. One filled with bitterness. The other with peace. The question is, which one will you choose? You've been watching Nightfall Tales by Wura, where every story whispers the truth about life, love, and destiny.